Yo, welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Senior. As always, thank you so much for supporting the program here. So many talented content creators out there and other content options. So anytime you decide to hang out here with us and get your Eagles coverage from Eagles Now, I certainly appreciate that. Coming up here on the show, you don't want to miss the content that we're providing for you. And the question that we're going to try to answer: how is this Philadelphia Eagles offense so bad with this much talent 6 games into the year? Stay tuned for that conversation. But first, I do want to say thank you to all of the real ones for your continued support of the channel. Philadelphia Eagles Now has surpassed 133,000 subscribers. Let's keep it moving. Let's continue to build the empire. If you want Eagles coverage every single day, year-round, that is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice, lock us in today. So this Eagles offense going into 2025, yes, had a new offensive coordinator in Kevin Patullo, who had never called plays prior to this season. But you had some reasons to be optimistic given his lack of experience, because this is an Eagles team that returned 10 of 11 starters from a squad that won the Super Bowl last year, and they were a highly producing and efficient offense. This is an Eagles offense that has a bunch of high-priced, high-end players, and through 6 games this season, this Eagles offense, not a hyperbolic statement, has been one of the worst offensive units in the NFL. You don't believe me? Let's take a look at the numbers. They can't block. They can't run. They can't put together a full 60 minutes. They are inconsistent. They have lacked rhythm. Last couple of games, they have been awful on third downs. And this is an offense that is reeling right now going into week 7. They are 17th in points per game at 23.7 per outing. They are 29th in yards per game. Ladies and gentlemen, the Eagles are picking up 274.5 yards per game offensively. Not going to get it done. They are averaging 4.7 yards per play, 28th in the league. They have now dropped to a 34.6% third down conversion rate. That is 27th in the NFL. And while the red zone offense has been dominant last couple of games, it's fallen off a little bit, but the Eagles are still number 1 there in red zone touchdown efficiency rate at 87.5%. If you're interested in looking at the Eagles defensive numbers, they're on your screen right now as well. But the conversation that we're having today has to be and take place and revolve around this Eagles offense. Because through 6 games this year, there has not been a single time that the Eagles have put together a full game. They've played good halves. They've had good drives. They've had efficient quarters. But they have not been able to sustain anything throughout the course of a ball game. And when we watch this Eagles offense so far this season, what exactly do they do well? What exactly is their identity? They don't run it well. They don't block well. The quarterback the last couple of games has not played all that well. The play calling situationally, rhythm-wise, play calling feel, play calling sequencing has not been good. This Eagles offense has no identity. And these are all issues right now on the offensive side of the pill. Kevin Patullo has not been great as an offensive coordinator. His inexperience has certainly shown. And what I just mentioned are problems with him, right? Sequencing and having a feel. I will say, though, he did draw up the A.J. Brown long ball against the Broncos. Hurts and A.J. couldn't connect on that play. Kevin Patullo did call the DeVonta Smith pass downfield. That should have been a walk-in 89-yard score. Hurts missed it. He did devise the play where A.J. Brown was open in the red zone against an all-out blitz when Hurts got picked on that interception that nearly went back for a pick 6. And so there have been good play calls here for the Eagles. But this Eagles offense has been entirely too predictable, and that is on Patullo. He also hasn't put Jalen Hurts in a position to maximize his skill set and hide his weaknesses. Jalen Hurts as a quarterback at times really hurting the Eagles, either with his bad reads or his mistakes, the plays that he's not making, the meat that he's leaving on the bone. This offensive line has regressed a lot, especially along the interior. This run game with Saquon Barkley cannot get going. And I've seen some people down in the comment section here on the show saying it's time to have a conversation about Saquon. He doesn't look good. Saquon to me looks fine. He's explosive, he's fast, he's physical. First 2 plays against the Giants, he pops off runs for 18 yards and 13 to 15 yards. And then from that point forward, the Eagles could not block. His yards before contact last year was just under 4. This year, it's been hovering around 1. That's an offensive line problem. And another big issue for the Eagles the last 2 games, they have been a mess on third downs. And really, this extends to the second half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But in the entirety of the last 2 games, this is how the Eagles have fared on third downs. Against the Giants, 1 of 9. And this has ramifications because it doesn't let your defense rest. So then your defense, which is now shorthanded because of injuries, gets worn down, they get tired, and they can't last. And your offense also is unable to find a rhythm and a flow when they have all of these 3-and-outs and these short drives where they have to punt it. Against the Denver Broncos, Philadelphia, this is a huge problem. 2 of 11 on third downs. And Jalen Hurts specifically throwing the ball the last 3 games on third downs. He is 6 for 28 for a conversion rate that is extremely too low and a completion percentage of 21.4%. And a lingering problem all year is that Hurts has struggled against zone defenses and Kevin Patullo has had no solutions or no answers going up against zone defenses. And what's alarming there is that to beat the zone, you have to throw with timing, accuracy, anticipation. You have to layer throws, and Hurts has never really excelled with that. Another problem with this Eagles offense, there's a lot, as evidenced by today's show, it is the lack of in-game adjustments. The Eagles have been incapable of making adjustments in-game, and because of that, they have been exposed. And I think numbers that certainly back that up. Them falling apart in the second half of games, them having a bunch of 3-and-outs, not having long and sustainable drives, them struggling on third down. But look at how they fared after halftime in the second half the last 3 games. This is the lack of in-game adjustments. You can game plan all you want. You can have a script for the first couple of drives. How do you adapt, evolve, and adjust after that? For the Eagles right now, they haven't been able to do that. Look at these drive charts the last 3 games in the second half for the Eagles. Fumble, INT, 3-and-out, punt, 3-and-out, 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 punt, touchdown, 3-and-out, 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 touchdown, punt, 3-and-out. 2 touchdowns in the second half in the last 3 games. And going back to my original point, it's not like the Eagles remade this offensive unit. They returned 10 of 11 starters from a team that won the Super Bowl last year. So this goes to show you that coaching certainly matters. And look at these splits year over year for the Eagles. In 2025, this Eagles offense in the second half, 32nd in points per drive, 32nd in scores per drive, 31st in punt rate, 31st in yards per drive. In 2024, the Eagles in those aforementioned categories. Number 2 in points per drive, number 2 in scores per drive, number 2 in punt rate, number 2 in yards per drive. One of the biggest losses for the Eagles this offseason, losing Kellen Moore, going to Kevin Patullo. It's not to say that Patullo can get better, but this is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, and it was always a risk to go with an OC who was not an external hire, to bring about fresh ideas, who had also never had play calling experience. Lane Johnson said this about the offense. You can game plan all you want, but when you get in the game, a lot of it is making adjustments. We're not efficient in anything. Last 2 weeks, you kind of know what it is. You know when the pass is coming. You know when the run is coming. Moving forward, we've got to do a better job of that. Now, him and A.J. Brown backed and supported Kevin Patullo, but that's kind of a shot at the play caller for this Eagles offense. It is truly baffling that with all of this talent, the offense has been this porous, that the offense has been struggling this much. And it's really everybody. A collective failure from Nick Sirianni to Kevin Patullo to Jalen Hurts to the offensive line to some of the weapons on this team. Some of the lack of hustle that we've seen from the likes of A.J. Brown, Jahan Dotson, DeVonta Smith has kind of been embarrassing at times. And in previous years, really throughout his entire career, even at Alabama and Oklahoma, Hurts has been known to be a good long ball thrower, especially on those go routes along the sideline. But the long ball this year has been missing from his game. And because of that, he's missed on some throws that could result in game-changing plays, which could result in changing the outcome of games. Hurts on targets of 10-plus yards downfield this year, 10 of 28, a 4.8 passer rating, 35.7% completion rate. He's 30th in accuracy, 35th in completion rate. And obviously that includes backups who have come in for starters there. Now coming up next, can this Eagles offense get fixed? Are there solutions to the issues that we are seeing? Going to try to dive into that and try to find some solutions to their ailments right now. Let's get to our sponsor, though. We love the Tush Push here on Eagles Now, and you will love the Tushy Luxury Bidet. It will change your life. And right now we have a phenomenal deal. If you use our link, hellotushy.com/chat, by using the promo code chat, you can get this life-altering product here. Tushy is the everyday luxury bidet that instantly transforms your bathroom habits and bottom health for life. 99% of people who wash with Tushy Wave feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. Tushy Wave instantly modernizes your daily routine and bathroom with a super sleek seat plus 2 separate front and rear nozzles for the most complete clean. It also features a soft close lid and seat that is slam-proof for a gentle, luxurious finish. Every Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the need for additional plumbing. This is daily decadence with practical benefits. Over half the people who wash with Tushy soothe their hemorrhoids, and 9 out of 10 people reduce itching and discomfort. Instead of wiping endlessly with toilet paper, Tushy pristinely removes 99% of bacteria while protecting your natural skin barrier thanks to one natural ingredient: fresh water. Installation is simple. It takes about 10 minutes to complete. Literally anybody can do it. It gives you 2-in-1 benefits: reducing irritation and preventing micro tears with soothing water instead of scratchy, cheap toilet paper or damaging wet wipes. This fits 95% of toilets, 8.5 do-it-yourself install, fresh as tap water, no outlet needed. Remember, sometimes as Philadelphians, people call us a-holes. A-hole is only a dirty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code CHAT at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com/chat, and you use the promo code CHAT as well. So a big question with this Eagles offense: can the Eagles change offensive coordinators during the season? That is a very hard thing to do. And elite offensive minds aren't jobless right now. They are employed because they are good offensive minds. And when you do change offensive coordinators in season, in-house, oftentimes it doesn't result in a lot of success. Now, the Eagles do have an interesting in-house option that they could pivot to. But remember, Kevin Patullo is Nick Sirianni's guy. They've known each other for a very long time, going back to their Colts days. And Sirianni vied for Patullo to replace Kellen Moore. But Scott Loeffler is the Eagles quarterbacks coach right now. He was hired to replace Doug Nussmeier, who is now the OC for the New Orleans Saints. And Scott Loeffler does have play calling experience. He called plays at Bowling Green State, and that offense pretty damn good. Going all the way back to his early days as a coach, he was with Tom Brady at Michigan. He's done a pretty good job of developing quarterbacks. Now, Hurts hasn't played necessarily all that well this season, and that could also be on Loeffler, but could he be a better play caller than Kevin Patullo? That's really the only internal option for the Eagles here. And I don't think that this is a guy who's going to be head coach at the NFL level. And so could you find your long-term offensive coordinator who's not going to leave and get poached by another team? Because that's a problem when you have a CEO head coach like Nick Sirianni. But right now, with Kevin Patullo calling the plays, with the scheme in general, the Eagles' tendencies, the scheme, the play calls, the play designs, they're too predictable for the defense. And Lane Johnson even said it after the game against the Giants. We're not making the defense guess right now. And a sign of a new and inexperienced offensive coordinator is an offensive coordinator who is getting play calls in late. This has been a huge point of emphasis for the Eagles that they're snapping the ball too late when the play clock is about to expire. And that hurts you because then the defense is able to set up defensively for how they want to guard and defend you. And they're able to kind of read what you might do. So moving forward, here's some changes that the Eagles could make on offense to change things. And these are also things that the Eagles have done at times this year where they've had success. The Eagles should call a lot of empty sets. This forces the defense to declare their coverage. It also allows the Eagles to spread things out. Right now, teams are crowding the box, loading the box, selling out to stop the run because they don't want to let Saquon Barkley cook them like he did all of last year. You go empty, you spread things out, defenses have to, in turn, spread out their defensive personnel. And then what this can also lead to, some quarterback draws for Jalen Hurts, which we haven't seen this season at all. I also want to see the Eagles run more outside zone and RPOs. This helps out Saquon Barkley. It helps out Jalen Hurts. And it helps out Saquon because right now when he's running in between the tackles, there's nothing there. And he's getting tackled for losses frequently. He gets to the outside, less bodies, clearer vision line for him. He gets out to the perimeter, out to the edge. He can make guys miss, and there's more real estate to work with. It helps out Jalen Hurts because on those RPOs, with the outside zone, he can elect to keep it, and he can get the ground game going, which can inject some life into the Eagles offense. It also, on the RPOs, on rollouts, allows Hurts to get out on the move to throw some easy passes. I also want to see the Eagles run 11 personnel more. 3 receivers, 1 tight end. This also allows you to spread the field with 1 running back. I think that Kevin Patullo should run Jalen Hurts a little bit more. Now, you have to balance this because you don't want to see Hurts get hit, injured, and that can happen when you're running the ball. But it also makes the offense harder to defend, and what's an aforementioned problem that I just mentioned. Right now, they're too easy to defend. And this is kind of bold, but I think this is something that needs to happen. As a CEO head coach, Nick Sirianni preaches doing little things that require no talent. I think Nick Sirianni should bench some of the wide receivers with effort issues. If they are giving up on routes, if they're not running with Jalen Hurts as he tries to extend plays, if they don't block, send a message, make an example of them, and sit their ass on the bench. Because right now we've seen far too many instances of wide receivers loafing, wide receivers not playing until the end of the play, wide receivers not blocking. And in particular, I'm talking to A.J. Brown. It's unacceptable. And I know that Jalen Hurts, as evidenced by what we talked about earlier, has been bad throwing the ball downfield. I'm willing to continue this because you need to stretch things vertically to open up things underneath, which can in turn also benefit the ground game. But Hurts has shown throughout his career, he is a very effective and capable deep ball thrower. And I think over time, he is going to hit on some of the misses that he's had. Another personnel change that the Eagles could make, you can't play Brett Toth at left guard. And I think that he's not good enough to be on an NFL roster. But this year, he's been horrible in place of Landon Dickerson, who also wasn't good. But he's getting blown up on the interior on passing plays. And then he can't open up holes for the running backs in the ground game. And the Giants did something on Thursday night to exploit the weakness that is Brett Toth. They lined up Brian Burns and Abdul Carter over the guard. They ran some twists, stunts, and gains to get premier pass rushers on Brett Toth, and he couldn't hold up. And really along this entire offensive line, everybody's been bad. Jordan Mailata hasn't been the same player after he got off to a good start earlier this year. Landon Dickerson looked banged up, was banged up, played poorly. Cam Jurgens hasn't been the same guy. Tyler Steen's actually probably been the best offensive lineman maybe for this Eagles team, and Lane Johnson's been up and down because he's been in and out of the lineup. Furthermore, I think the Eagles need to run more plays under center, and that's both throwing it and running it. Jalen Hurts has shown that he can throw from under center in the deep drop back pass game. And Saquon Barkley has shown that he can run it effectively when they run it from under center because he's able to get that momentum moving toward the line of scrimmage. Right now, when the Eagles are in the shotgun, they are so predictable, and defenses know what they are doing. Be less predictable out of the gun. Have some wrinkles, have some window dressing, have some pre-snap creativity, post-snap creativity, because right now, what we're seeing from the Eagles offense is not it. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way. You can find me over there at Chase_Senior, approaching 18,000 followers on X, 41,000 followers on IG. I'm giving you so much free content here. I'm doing the same over there as well.